Now, I think, and I'm a minority, but there are some other Republicans who believe this, I think when you go to war, you should go to war with congressional authority. I think it's a big mistake, and it's a very bad precedent to allow war to be fought with no vote in Congress. Now, it also shows you the hypocrisy of the way politics goes. Many on the left criticized Bush, to no end about the Iraq War. And in fact, I wasn't in favor of going to Iraq. But at the very least, Bush came to Congress and he voted before going to Afghanistan, and Congress voted before going to Iraq. You had some representation and you had some chance to have your representative vote one way or another. But now we're involved in a third war in which no vote happened. So we took the president's own words. The president said as a candidate in 2007 that we should never give the president the unilateral power to go to war without congressional authority unless we're in danger of imminent attack. I took his words and put it into a resolution on the floor. It didn't make the Democrats very happy, but we had them vote on it, and they simply voted no because they were embarrassed by it. But it points out the hypocrisy of the way the town goes. We have a serious problem. Our main problem in the country is our debt crisis. Now, we almost shut down government a week or two ago, and you think, well, gosh, we've started, now it's really begun, and I can feel confident that we're going to be cutting spending and balancing our budget. It's not happening. We're winning the debate. Everybody's talking about cutting spending, but here are two things that you will not have read in the newspaper. They're absolutely true, and you can check them. This year, we will spend more money than we did last year. We haven't reduced the amount of spending. This year, our deficit will be greater than last year. So are we really doing anything? They said they were going to cut $38 billion, which pales in comparison to $1.6 trillion. It's virtually a rounding error, but it turns out even the $38 billion, when scored by the Congressional Budget Office, wasn't real either. It turns out it's about $300 million. Now, when you talk about millions compared to trillions, we really aren't doing anything. It is my fear that the crisis will get worse. We have a tenuous economy now, but we are paying our bills. But we're paying most of our bills with about 1% interest. Jim just showed me a minute ago that they're talking about and still warning about downgrading U.S. debt. When they start talking about downgrading U.S. debt, that's a serious situation. The Chinese have bought a little over $1 trillion of our debt, the Japanese a little under $1 trillion. We depend on this continuous buying because we're continuously living beyond our means. But what's going to happen now? Japan has had a significant natural disaster. Will their buying habits be less? Will they buy less of our debt, or could they even possibly begin to sell our debt if they are in financial situation that they are incapable of dealing with? I think we face serious problems. With the debt crisis, I think that is looming, we will have to do something. We'll have to cut spending. The problem is that every constituency comes to me and says, we want more money from Washington. And I tell them, look, if we had a balanced budget, if we brought in $2 trillion and spent $2 trillion, then it would be easy for me to advocate for your interest or for getting some money for a good project. We have things that need to be done. We have bridges in our state that need to be built. We have roads that need to be built, but we're out of money. And so what I tell the people who come to my office is the days of adding it on, of just simply coming in and saying, let's add on a new program, let's add on new money, they're gone. You need to come to my office and say, this guy's program's no good and mine's better. We need to begin to prioritize. Your mayor has to do it. Your mayor has to do it because what I told him when we were having lunch, he doesn't have a printing press. He has a finite amount of money. We're getting to a point where I think we will have a finite amount of money in Washington, where our borrowing will run short or interest rates will rise, or we will begin to monetize more of our debt, but that ultimately can lead to the destruction of our currency. So I think we face serious times. Can we grow our way out of this? To an extent we can, by freeing up business and by opening up and embracing, the engine that is capitalism. I think we could. But I think that also it's going to take cutting of spending, and that's what people don't want to hear because everybody sees the good in a program, but you need to understand that that's now being offset by the danger of carrying such a large debt and paying for such a large debt.